Today, we are going to review Priscilla Presley's new book, Softly as I Leave You. I did read her first book, so throughout the discussions on this book, if there are any discrepancies, it's going to be just what was written in her first book and what was written in this book. So in the dedication section, she dedicates the book to those who have left us, in her words, those who have left us. And it's Lisa Marie, her daughter, her mom Anne, her grandson Benjamin, and also Elvis, who she says who is still with me. She also dedicates it to her son Navarone. And what I found really interesting about the dedication is that there's no mention of Riley or her other granddaughters, Harper and Finley. So I found it very odd that they were omitted from the dedication, but I don't know, whatever. All right, and then the prologue, she tells a story, and it's her walking down this familiar road, and walking with her is a young man in a Navy pilot's uniform, who I'm assuming is her biological father, because her stepdad, Mr. Beaulieu, I think he was in the Air Force. Also walking with her are her mom, Lisa Marie, Benjamin, and Dodger, Elvis's grandmother, and Elvis. And the conversation is really light. I think she included this because the conversation is kind of centered on, are you okay, Priscilla? Yes, I'm doing okay. So I think maybe that's why she included it. Chapter 1. So this chapter begins with the reason why she left Elvis. And she said in her first book, it was because she needed to find a life of her own. And I still find it interesting that finding a life of her own includes keeping her famous ex-husband's last name. Anyway, she talks about how her generation was brought up to find a good husband and to dote on that husband, to put his needs before her own, and that he's pretty much put on a pedestal. Another story that she includes in this chapter, which I found to be really interesting, was in her 9th grade year, so the same year that she met Elvis, her school had this contest. It was like an auction, like a human auction, where boys can bid on girls. And the boy with the highest bid on that particular girl owned her for the day. So she would have to follow him around, serve him lunch, carry his books. And the girl with the highest bid was considered the most popular girl in school. And that year, it happened to be Priscilla. So she talks about meeting Elvis when she was 14 and he was 24. And that in the South, it was not considered, that age gap was not considered PEDO. I don't want to say the word. I don't want to get flagged. Yeah, that it was quite normal. And she references Scarlett O'Hara, who was 16 when Rhett Butler fell in love with her, or met her and fell in love with her. And also references Jerry Lee Lewis, the piano rock and roll guy who married his 13-year-old cousin when he was a grown adult. Another thing that she said in this chapter that I found odd was that she said that they met when they were 14. She and Elvis met when she was 14. But that they didn't have a romantic relationship until she was 17. And then they got married when she was 21. And that's when they first consummated their relationship. But here's the strange thing is, in her first book, she says on the second date in Germany at his house, when she went to his house, is when he had first kissed her. During her time with him in Germany, when she would go over, they remained physical, with the exception of actual intercourse. So I don't know what she means by that, them not having a romantic relationship until she was 17. But maybe she's actually acknowledging that it wasn't romantic when they were in Germany, that maybe it was just a fling for Elvis, because at that time, remember, he was with Anita Wood, and Priscilla was aware of Anita Wood. She found Anita's letters on Elvis's nightstand. So I thought that was really interesting that she had brought that up, the age 14, romantic relationship at 17, and then consummating their marriage on their wedding night. She then goes on to talk about Elvis's generation and his upbringing and how it was encouraged for men to marry young women so that the men can establish themselves as head of household, and they expected their young brides to be submissive, to be pretty, to be charming, and to always look their best. And that's why Priscilla she was always in full makeup, her hair done, dressed really nicely anytime she was around Elvis. She tried not to question anything he did, even with the rumors of other women being around, or, his co-stars, like romantic relationships with his co-stars. And so instead of really questioning about the other women, she just wanted to stick around and stay by his side all the time, because she felt that if she left him alone or was not with him, it presented an opportunity for another woman to come in and take her place. She talks about how she was very lonely. She was the only woman in the Memphis Mafia, or in the entourage, usually the only woman at the dinner table. And she didn't have any friends, any female friends, anyone that she could really talk to. And so when Elvis started touring full time, her anxiety got really worse about him leaving and not being with him. She didn't see him often. And again, the fact that she was lonely and like the only woman, it just started adding up. She started taking karate lessons at one point with Mike Stone at the urging of Elvis. So that kept her busy, but her problems, her loneliness was still mounting. She also mentions that when Lisa Marie was born, their lovemaking stopped, just ceased to exist. Elvis didn't want to have another baby. This she didn't mention in her first book. And he was afraid to have another baby, and considering that she had gotten pregnant the night of their wedding night, didn't help. So her insecurities grew and grew, so she started spending more time with her karate instructor, Mike Stone. Also, she mentions that Elvis, although he loved Lisa Marie, he had no interest in like diaper duties. The responsibility of raising and tending to Lisa Marie was solely Priscilla's responsibility. It fell solely on her. And Elvis was disgusted when baby Lisa would smear food or vomit, as kids do. Kids throw up. And that he wouldn't hold her unless she was bathed and clothed in pretty little cute little dresses. I found that really, really odd. So Priscilla says that the last straw for her was when she was at their Palm Springs home. I think Elvis was in Vegas for his shows. She found a bunch of love letters, mostly to Elvis, from other women, and it was very obvious that the woman had been in the home. She called Elvis, who denied it, but she was just over it at that point, and that's when she knew she had to leave. Around that time is when she started having an affair with Mike Stone. Also, the fact that Elvis made it clear that Lisa Marie was Priscilla's responsibility, but also expected her to tend to him 100% of the time when he needed her. And so she felt like she had to choose between being a mother and being a wife. And that's when she chose to leave Elvis. Lisa was 4 years old. All right. So that's chapter 1. In the next video, we'll be discussing chapter 2. So stay tuned. This is the chapter in which she expounds on what she meant when she said Elvis forcefully made love to her, and also talks about Elvis putting out the hit on Mike Stone. See you then.